Hey, welcome to part 2 of this video where I will share with you some tips on how to select a good domain name. If you haven't watched the first video where we talked about some cool ideas on how to generate domain names, do check out the video right here because I'm confident that the info I shared will literally give you hundreds of domain name ideas that are available for you to buy. So do check it out and let me know if it did help you. And just in case you haven't decided on a niche yet, please do not go ahead and buy a domain name just because you are afraid that somebody else snatches it up from you. Honestly, if you haven't decided on a niche yet, there is a very high chance that your domain name that you buy will not be relevant. So if you haven't decided on a niche yet, or you're not confident that you have chosen a good niche, do check out this video right here because that video will help you decide on a niche and be confident that the niche is going to be a good one for you to progress with and you won't regret it later. So this video is going to be short. I will not be wasting any of your time. I'm just going to share with you some tips to select a good domain name. So number one is to stick with a .com because they are easy to remember and people tend to search for .com if they remember your brand name. For example, Amazon. You remember that brand name, but you will not type in amazon.xyz or amazon.info to get to Amazon, right? Another good example is if you have an active social media account with a brand name with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or whatever. Normally, if people want to find you and maybe contact you, I know there are ways that you can place your blog's URL on those channels, but some people will search for your brand name with a .com on the web browser. And if they found your .com website with a nice looking design and it provides lots of good value, it's an immediate credibility boost for you. That's why having a .com domain name has many benefits. Now, having said that, the next tip I have for you is to have some brand name across your social media channels and your blog. However, if you already have an active social media account with a brand name, but you couldn't buy the .com domain name for that brand, then the next alternative would be a .net or finally a .org. I would not purchase a domain name or other top-level domains or TLDs like .xyz or .info or .website or whatever. But honestly, this is a guide. There is no hard and fast rule. If you want to buy any domain names other than a .com, .net or .org, then you have to consider if your audience would know how to find you through your social media accounts. But if you're totally new to blogging and social networking, then it will be good for you to start with a .com and have all your social accounts with the same name that matches your .com domain. The next tip I have for you is your domain should be easy to remember. With that, there are 4 things. Your domain name should be short and below 15 characters, it should not have more than 6 syllables, you should not use hyphen or numbers, and it is easy to spell. I know it is easier said than done. A domain name below 15 characters is hard to achieve honestly, but it is totally possible. If you follow my previous video about brainstorming domain name ideas, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to think of domain names that are shorter than 15 characters. Now, having said that, if you have a domain name that is above 15 characters, but you have a good ring to your brand name is easy to pronounce, it resonates with your audience and is easy to remember, then 15 characters is not a big deal. Then the reason why I say you should keep your domain name below 6 syllables is because the more words you have in your domain name, the harder it is to remember, and if the words you choose have many syllables, it gets even harder to remember. Nowadays, I would say that .com domain names with 1 word is almost impossible to find, but domains with 2 words are rare. Even if it's available, it will cost you thousands to buy. But if you found a domain name with 2 words and it is cheap, that's awesome. I did it with Sprout Marketer, it only cost me $8 per year. But what I want to get across is that nowadays it is common for domain names to have 3 words. And if your choice of words has 3 to 4 syllables in it, it is a mouthful for people to pronounce and it will be hard for them to remember. For example, Origin, Amaya, Unity, .com, although it is 15 characters long, it has 9 syllables and is hard to remember. So even if you have a 3-word domain name with longer than 15 characters, but if you keep the number of syllables below 6, I think it is still doable. Then you should avoid using hyphen and numbers in your domain name because it is harder for your audience to remember and is often perceived as spam. And if you want your domain name to be memorable, do not use words that are hard to spell like discipline, principle or principle, exhilarate, intelligence, license. For license, you can be an S or a C. Then maneuver, mischievous. You don't want to test your audience grammar or spelling. You want people to remember your domain name and find you easily. Now, the next tip is not to restrict your blog to a very specific niche. You want to leave some room for your website to grow. For example, if you're interested in talking about baby food, For now, you can buy a domain name like babydiet.com. It is easy to remember and stuff like that, but in future if you wish to talk about baby toys or baby diapers on your blog, then babydiet.com may not be that relevant to those topics. You want to choose something more generic that is relevant to a broader niche, like for example allaboutbaby.com. Next, you want to have a domain name that kind of describes what your website is about, and the best way to do that is to use some words or phrases that your intended audience will use. Like for example, in the previous video, I walked you through the example of finding a domain name for a fishing blog. I went through many articles and comments related to the niche and came up with a whole list of words. And if you use those words in your domain name, it will kind of let your audience know what your website is about. Finally, the last tip I want to share, which is super important, is if you like the domain name and you can see yourself being passionate about creating content for the domain name. I speak from personal experience because honestly I've purchased a lot of domain names over the years, and it was kind of an impulse thing because I thought of many ideas and it all seems to be good domain names for me to start. So I bought it. I thought I would start it in a few days, but in the end, I couldn't bring myself to even get started. And honestly, the domain names I've bought fits all the criteria I've mentioned. It is short, it is easy to remember, describe what the website is about, it is easily scalable and everything. But something in me just couldn't bring myself to even get started. So I would say to pick a domain name that you feel excited about. So these are the tips I want to share with you, but these are just guidelines, they are not rules. If you want me to rank these criteria, I would say number 1, you have to be excited about the domain name. Number 2, it is best to have a .com. Number 3, it is easy to remember, which means it's easy to spell. It has lesser than 6 syllables. Do not use hyphen or numbers, and best if it is lesser than 15 characters. Number 4, the domain name should describe what your blog is about. Number 5, the domain name should not restrict future developments. Number 6, the domain name of your blog should match the name of your social media channels. So these are the 6 tips for you to choose a good domain name for your blog. I really hope that these 2 videos I've shared about domain names part 1 and part 2, you will take action and buy a domain name that you love and start building a blog. The best place I recommend you to buy a domain name is through namecheap.com. I don't recommend that you buy a domain name from the same company that holds your website, because just in case you wish to change your web hosting company in the future, it will be easier for you to move over without any interruption. So go to namecheap.com, search for a suitable domain name and buy it. I've dropped a link to Namecheap below this video. It is not an affiliate link, don't worry about it. And if you want to know the next steps to set up your blog, I prepared an over-the-shoulder guide that will walk you through the entire process from setting up the hosting, installing WordPress, installing the right plugins and all. I've dropped the link below this video as well. Also, if you're new to blogging or you're considering starting a blog, then this channel will be very useful to you because I've lined up many topics about blogging in the coming weeks. I will tackle blogging first and move on to other topics in future. So if you follow the videos I will be publishing in the coming weeks, it should lay a good foundation for you to be successful with blogging. So do subscribe to this channel and check the bell to get notified of new videos. Anyway, this is Jack from Income Stream Builders. I hope that you and your family are doing well during this period. I look forward to seeing you in the coming videos.